A Southern woman spills the tea.
As I sit here and take in all of the news from every direction, all I see is deceivers, liars, corporate media, cover ups, agenda, all pushing the same propaganda. It's time for a game changer, a visionary, an innovative person who changes the way that people think of the situations. It's time for Game Changer TV, telling it like it is. Get in the game.
A Southern woman spills the tea, and I'm not talking about myself. Thanks for tuning in to Game Changer TV. I'm your host, Terri Lynn, and this is the channel where every day we're telling it like it is. Today is December 28th, 2025, and let's just jump straight into this. From Christmas Eve, from the Oklahoman, new Epstein documents include a claim of Oklahoma unaliving. The latest release of Jeffrey Epstein's documents includes an FBI report about a caller's claim of a suspicious death in Kiefer, Oklahoma in January 2000. The caller said a woman was found with her head blown off in a small town in northeast Oklahoma days after reporting to the police that she had been raped by Epstein and Donald Trump. The caller described the death as a murder.
Well, well, well. It's Friday, baby, and I don't want to pour any of this tea, but I have to because you need to know the truth, okay? Now, we need to talk about a few things. We're going to start with Lake Michigan. People on here are reporting it wrong, dear, so let me clarify it for you. Some people are saying that this went down when the orange fool was in the White House the first go-round. That's not true. Supposedly, this particular story happened in the 90s. The 90s. Another point of fact here, dear, is that Daddy W Pants did have a boat docked on Lake Michigan in the 90s. The print says that he was turning into a casino. Now, the law stated that that boat could not leave the shore, dear. It could not travel so far out into water because it was a casino boat. But Bubba, Bill Clinton, he was president then, and he tweaked the law a bit to allow casino boats to drift on out in the water and shit. So you've got two guys, Bill and Donald, that were both involved with the island guy. Only one of them's ever been accused of red rum, friend. Now, this was just a tip. We don't know if the FBI investigated it. We haven't seen the entirety of the files. But there's no way in hell you're going to make me believe that he was not involved, honey. Secondly, there was a limo driver who testified and left a tip that he absolutely heard Orange Daddy in the back of his limo saying very disgusting things about his proclivities and an underage girl. The limo driver was so very disgusted he wanted to pull the limo over, rip Daddy W Pants out of the back, and beat the hell out of him. The girl involved in this particular story, well, she decided to call the FBI and tell her side. She called. She gave him a tip. She called back to see if they were investigating it. Mysteriously, that girl wound up dead in Oklahoma. Her whole entire head just blew right off. Mysteriously, that girl wound up dead in Oklahoma. Her whole entire head just blew right off. When police arrived on the scene, they said there was no way she had done that to herself. However, the coroner ruled it to be a self-unaliving. There have been so many self-unalivings around this scandal, dear. Victims, perpetrators too. Do you remember the Jean Burnell dude that owned the modeling agency? He was really good friends with Daddy, Jeffrey, and Paulo Zampale. He got hemmed up, just like Jeffrey did, and unalived himself inside of a jail cell. Well, there's pictures since the file has been released of Jean Burnell and another individual, a male. And that male just so happens to be the guy who is currently directing a documentary for Melania, the mail order maiden, baby. They're all connected. You see, the red hats want to believe this is all about a Democrat today. But the facts are the facts, dear, and the facts are this. This is not a political play. The divide here is between the American people and the elite, who, because of their money and their power, get away with just about anything. If you still are supporting that man, if you can still say today with a straight fucking face that he's great, I pray to whatever God is listening that you do not have children of your own, because their safety, it's fucking gone. Your daughters, your sons, and your grandchildren are watching you defend a predator. They're watching you rip your own family apart for a stranger who would not piss on you if you were on fire. A man who is willing to start a war and unalive others because of his proclivities in the past. And there's nothing he could do at this point. Nothing he could do. No war he could start, no ship he could pirate today. There's not a fucking thing he can do to make people look away from the crimes and the lies, the corruption, dear. His legacy, that man sitting up there, it's not about being great. It's not an economy. It's none of that. His legacy is that he's a pedophile. And possibly, a murderer too. For me, though, he's most definitely a murderer, boo, because you know how many people have died inside of detention centers this year alone? Over 6. One of them was an unborn fetus. I see him for what he is today. A predator in every way. From the innocence of children, the innocence of women too, the corruption within our government, the stealing of our money, the being intertwined with foreign entities and governments, baby. There's just not a line that he won't cross.
The redacted name Dusty Ray Duke. We were never supposed to see this. So that's the tip sheet. This is from Newsbreak one day ago. Explosive FBI tip on Trump and Epstein gains new credibility after death records surface. An explosive FBI tip that involved President Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein is getting renewed attention because a local newspaper says it uncovered death records that align with the key detail described in the tip. The tip dates back to October 2020 and appears in an FBI intake report that became public Tuesday as part of the Justice Department's ongoing release of Epstein-related materials. Those disclosures were compelled by law following the passage of the Epstein Files Transparency Act, which requires the release of unclassified records tied to the late financier. According to the document, the individual who contacted the FBI appears to have been a limousine driver who said he worked in the Dallas-Fort Worth area in the mid-1990s and drove Trump in 1995. The driver claimed that during that encounter, Trump spoke on the phone about Jeffrey in a way that left an impression on him. The account then shifts to 1999 when the limousine driver told investigators that he later shared his Trump encounter with a passenger who responded by saying that she had been sexually assaulted by both Trump and Epstein. The driver said he encouraged the woman to contact law enforcement, but the subject objected, claiming, "They will kill me." According to the FBI intake report, the driver later admitted to follow up with the woman and learned that she had died. The report states that the driver was told that she was found with her head blown off in Kiefer, Oklahoma, and that people at the scene believed there was no way it was a suicide, even though the death was officially ruled a suicide. The Oklahomian reported this week that the death notices show a 19-year-old student from Kiefer. On January 10th, 2000, the state's chief medical examiner told the outlet that the death of Dusty Ray Duke was ruled a suicide by gunshot wound to the head. The timing, location, and cause of death matched the description included in the FBI tip, giving document new weight in at least one narrow respect. From the Inquisitor from December 26. Explosive FBI tip on Trump and Epstein gains new credibility after death records surface. Ruled a suicide, December 26. Ruled a suicide. Newly uncovered report supports the FBI tip about Epstein and Trump. The state's chief medical examiner, Eric Pfeiffer, told the Oklahomian on December 24th, so 4 days ago, that the death of Dusty Ray Duke was ruled a suicide by a gunshot to the head. Her body was found at an address in Sapulpa, which is near Kiefer, according to medical examiner records. So I went and looked it up on Find a Grave. So there were tips. There were people that left flowers anonymously that's been pouring in this past week since her name became public. But then I wanted to see the ones before it became public. December 23rd, 2025. So this was, okay, this one's still, okay, this one says justice will be served. August 24th, 2023. Remembered. October 18th, 2018. Love you, sweet girl. Miss you terribly. From yesterday, from International Business Times. Let's find her name again. Okay, so yesterday, new Epstein documents show unverified FBI tip linking Trump to a murdered 19-year-old in 2000. So they're trying to say it can't be substantiated. Okay. FBI intake report alleges Trump's link to 2000 Oklahoma death, but DOJ calls it sensationalist and unverified. Newly released FBI documents related to the Epstein investigation have been brought to the public and include an unverified tip alleging a connection between the former president Donald Trump and the death of a 19-year-old woman in 2000. I got stumped on why they called it former president. He's the president. The document's part of a tract of nearly 30,000 pages published under the Epstein Files Transparency Act contain claims submitted by a third-party informant that Trump and Epstein raped a woman and that the unnamed victim was later found dead. Authorities have strongly rejected the allegation, but its inclusion has the public wondering how the FBI handles raw tips involving high-profile figures. So let's go down. The DOJ says the new unclaimed document is being sensationalist. It's important to stress that the FBI document in question is an unverified tip submitted by a member of the public, not a conclusion drawn by investigators or prosecutors. Intake reports are routinely logged by the Bureau to record raw information received from the callers, even if the claims have not been corroborated. The United States Department of Justice issued a public statement addressing the allegations involving Trump. The DOJ said that some of these documents contain untrue, sensationalist claims made against President Trump that were submitted to the FBI before the 2020 election. Xers don't believe the claim was being sensationalist. Many commentators noted that the FBI intake report can contain raw speculative claims, particularly when submitted close to election cycles, when politically motivated tips are common. With the Oklahoman confirming the death was ruled a suicide, the FBI tip appeared to have been aligned with a 19-year-old student named Dusty Ray Duke.
What is the name Dusty Raya suddenly doing inside newly released Jeffrey Epstein records? And why is the town of Kiefer, Oklahoma being mentioned alongside it? In today's video, we're breaking down who Dusty Raya is, why her name is appearing in online discussions tied to the Epstein document release, what the records actually say, and, just as importantly, what they do not confirm. This is a sensitive story involving allegations, conflicting claims, and unverified reports, so we'll stick to what's known, what's alleged, and what remains unclear. Earlier this week, the U.S. Department of Justice released more than 11,000 records related to the Jeffrey Epstein investigation. Among those files is a summary report based on information given to investigators by an unnamed limousine driver who said he worked in the Dallas-Fort Worth area in the mid-1990s. That document does not name the alleged victim, but it references President Donald J. Trump, Jeffrey Epstein, and a woman who later reportedly died in Kiefer, Oklahoma. Online users have since speculated that the woman may have been Dusty Raya Duke, though this is not confirmed in the DOJ documents. According to the file, the limo driver claimed he picked up Donald Trump in 1995 and drove him to DFW Airport. During the ride, Trump allegedly spoke on a cell phone and repeatedly referenced the name Jeffrey. Later, the driver said a woman told him she had been sexually assaulted by Trump and Epstein. The driver claimed he encouraged her to contact law enforcement. He later stated he learned the woman had died in Kiefer, Oklahoma. The document also notes conflicting statements between law enforcement and a medical examiner about whether the death was ruled a suicide. No case numbers, no victim name, and no criminal charges are included in the file. The Justice Department has been very clear. These Epstein-related records include unverified tips, hearsay, and claims that were never substantiated. According to reporting by CBS News, most references to Trump in the broader release are news articles, not investigative findings. No new prosecutions have been announced. The release does not establish guilt or wrongdoing. Trump has repeatedly denied any involvement and has stated he cut ties with Epstein years before Epstein's arrest. The name Dusty Raya Duke has surfaced largely through online discussion, including Reddit and Facebook posts, not DOJ confirmation. What is known publicly? Dusty Raya Duke reportedly died in January 2000. She was 19 years old. Her death occurred in or near Kiefer, Oklahoma. Some online users speculate she may match the timeline described in the DOJ document. However, the DOJ file does not identify her. No official record links her name to the Epstein document. Law enforcement has not publicly confirmed this connection. Further attention comes from social media posts by a man claiming to be the former limousine driver referenced in the document. In these posts, he alleges he reported information to federal authorities. He believes the woman he referenced later died. He claims the death was improperly ruled. Important to note, these statements are not sworn testimony. They have not been verified. No court has ruled on these claims. Because of their graphic and inflammatory nature, we are not repeating the language used, only acknowledging that these claims exist online.
Limo driver who testified and left a tip that he absolutely heard Orange Daddy in the back of his limo saying very disgusting things about his proclivities in an underage girl. The limo driver was so very disgusted he wanted to pull the limo over, rip Daddy Duppy Pants out of the back, and beat the hell out of him. The girl involved in this particular story, well, she decided to call the FBI and tell her side. She called. She gave him a tip. She called back to see if they were investigating it. Mysteriously, that girl wound up dead in Oklahoma. Her whole entire head just blew right off. When police arrived on the scene, they said there was no way she had done that to herself. However, the coroner ruled it to be a self-unaliving. There have been so many self-unalivings around this scandal, dear. Victims, perpetrators too. Do you remember the Jean Burnell dude that owned the modeling agency? He was really good friends with Daddy, Jeffrey, and Paulo Zampali. He got hemmed up, just like Jeffrey did, and unalived himself inside of a jail cell. Well, there's pictures since the file has been released of Jean Burnell and another individual, a male. And that male just so happens to be the guy who is currently directing a documentary for Melania, the mail order maiden baby. They're all connected. You see, the red hats want to believe this is all about a Democrat today. But the facts are the facts, dear, and the facts are this. This is not a political play. The divide here is between the American people and the elite, who, because of their money and their power, get away with just about anything.
I know it's a hoax. It's started by Democrats. It's been run by the Democrats for 4 years. You had Christopher Wray and these characters and Comey before him. And it's a bad group. It started, actually, look at the Steele dossier that turned out to be a total hoax. The 51 agents, the intelligence, so-called intelligence agents, it was a hoax. It's all been a big hoax. It's perpetrated by the Democrats. And some stupid Republicans and foolish Republicans fall into the net. And so they try and do the Democrats' work. The Democrats are good for nothing other than these hoaxes. They're bad for policy. They're bad for picking candidates that can get elected. Like in
right now, there have been survivors of Jeffrey Epstein speaking at a press conference on Capitol Hill. They're calling for these case files, these documents to be released. Is the Justice Department protecting any friends or donors, sir?
So this is a Democrat hoax that never ends.
If your name is...
Well, I haven't been overly interested in it. You know, it's a hoax that's been built up way beyond proportion. I can say this, those files were run by the worst scum on earth. They were run by Comey. They were run by Garland. They were run by Biden. And by the way, I never went to the island, and Bill Clinton went there supposedly 28 times. I never went to the island, but Larry Summers, I hear, went there. He was the head of Harvard. And many other people that are very big people. Nobody ever talks about them. I never had the privilege of going to his island.
Respond to the Epstein situation?
Is he working on what?
Is he hosting some kind of gathering of top advisors this evening to talk about how to respond to the Epstein situation?
I don't know. I could ask you that question. I don't know of it, but I think here's the man right here.
I saw a report today, and it's completely fake news. We're not meeting to talk about the Epstein situation, and I think the reporter who reported it needs to get better sources.
Look, the whole thing is a hoax.
Mr. President, your daughter-in-law said that there should be transparency in the Epstein case. Do you agree with her, sir?
The Attorney General's handled that very well. She's really done a very good job, and I think that when you look at it, you'll understand that. I would like to see that also, but I think the Attorney General, the credibility is very important, and you want credible evidence for something like that. And I think the Attorney General's handled it very well.
How many more states? The Attorney General briefed you on the DOJ and FBI review, the findings of that review. The Attorney General briefed you on that.
What? On the
DOJ and FBI
on what?
review.
On what subject?
Epstein.
Okay.
On Epstein, of the review of the files. Attorney General Pam Bondi.
A very quick briefing.
Did she tell you, what did she tell you about the review? And specifically, did she tell you at all that your name appeared in the file?
No. She's given us just a very quick briefing, and in terms of the credibility of the different things that they've seen. And I would say that, these files were made up by Comey, they were made up by Obama, they were made up by the Biden, we went through years of that with the Russia hoax, with all of the different things that we had to go through.
And right before the release of this was the Daily Beast reported, the DOJ, Pam Bondi, the DOJ begs for emergency Epstein file scrubbers over the holidays. Justice Department officials have begged lawyers to sacrifice their Christmas to redact the Epstein files. Pam Bondi is doing a really good job. The Department of Justice has begged prosecutors to spend their Christmas redacting the Epstein files as they continue to release files over the festive period. A report by CNN revealed that the DOJ leadership and U.S. Attorney General's Office for the Southern District of Florida asked its entire staff on Tuesday, 2 days before Christmas, for volunteers to conduct remote document review and redactions related to the Epstein files over the next several days. And what has been released, 90% of what they have released is redacted. So I'm just bringing this to y'all, if you're still on the Trump train, to take your misplaced loyalty and allegiance to him and pull back some and logically think about everything that's going on in this situation, the cover-ups, the affiliations, and y'all really soul search if your heart should be worshiping a man. Turn your eyes back onto Jesus, because men deceive and God doesn't. God is calling all men everywhere to repent. Thank y'all for watching. If you appreciate the content that you find on this channel, would you prayerfully consider supporting the ministry?